Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, a senator wants the public attorney's office chief to resign.
Bago siya mag-boysisi o manisi ng iba, tingnan muna niya ang pagkukulang sa kanilang kampanya sa mga subok na bakuna.
Following the measles outbreak and parents' distrust in government-administered vaccines.
Number one, the Dangbaksha scare. And then number two is that the parents more often than not say, wala akong oras.
Also, fighting sexual harassment to another level.
Presumes that there is an inherent discrimination against women, na hindi pa pantay yung pagtingin sa dangal natin.
As lawmakers ratify an anti-catcalling and wolf-whistling bill, Senator Risa Hontiveros joins us live. The National Police closely monitoring areas deemed as election hotspots, but which places are included and what exactly does it mean to fall under this category? Our George Cahiles explains in this report.
As the campaign period officially sets in, the Philippine National Police declares 701 cities and municipalities as election hotspots. This is based on new COMELEC-issued parameters. Hotspots are color-coded. Yellow for areas marked by intense political rivalries and history of election-related violence. Orange for areas with the presence of armed groups. And red for areas of grave concern or places with the combined characteristics of yellow and orange areas. From the initial 19 cities and municipalities, the areas listed under those of grave concern shot up to 94.
Dito sa 94 na to, there are places that can be also possible to be under COMELEC control. Pero ito ay pinag-aaralan pa ng COMELEC.
Once a specific area is placed under COMELEC control, COMELEC takes charge of all officials and employees of national and local government offices and personnel of law enforcement agencies. As of now, only Daragain Albay and Cotabato City are under COMELEC control. But with a new list, COMELEC is still deliberating on placing more areas under its control. These include Tabuk City in Kalinga, POV Corpus in Masbate, Isabela City in Basilan, Sultan Dumalondong in Lanao del Sur, and Datu Hofer, Sharif Agwak, and Sharif Saidona Mustafa in Maguindanao. Troops recently had encounters with remnants of multi-ISIS group in Datu Dumalondong in Lanao del Sur. With the increased number of hotspots, the PNP will realign its personnel to ensure peaceful and orderly polls.
With the changes in the hotspots, now we will have to probably check on the deployment of our personnel. Dahil dito dumami, then we have to realign our personnel also.
The PNP assures that they have enough personnel to cover all the areas that require immediate attention this upcoming May polls. George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
The Commission on Elections calls on the public to report campaign violations by the candidates. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez notes that just on the first day of the campaign period, they have already recorded several violations.
We did see a lot of violations. I mean, all of the campaign posters that hadn't been taken down were pretty much in evidence. But we are getting reports of posters being taken down voluntarily by the people, by the candidates themselves. No? So I think for our first day, that was a very good development. We will continue monitoring the status of compliance. And by Friday, we expect to be documenting everything that's left up, everything that hasn't been taken down.
Citizens may report illegally placed or illegally sized campaign propaganda to COMELEC through any of its email or social media accounts using the hashtag Sumbong sa COMELEC. Presidential daughter and Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio's regional party was in Pampanga in Central Luzon yesterday. The hugpong ng pagbabago is endorsing 13 senatorial bets with only 12 seats up for grabs. Joyce Ilas tells us what happened in the party's first day of campaign.
It was like a fiesta. Thousands of Kapampangans flocked to the first campaign caravan of Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte's political party, Humpong ng Pagbabago, in San Fernando City, Pampanga. As early as 6 in the morning, campaign jingles of HNP candidates blared repeatedly. And campaign posters and streamers were all over. There was singing. And dancing. But what could be one of the highlights of today's campaign was when former Senator Jinggoy Estrada raised the hand of his half-brother, re-electionist Senator J.V. Ejercito. Estrada, who is facing plunder allegations but is now out on bail, is using the campaign as a chance to redeem his image.
Wala po kaming kasalanan sa taong bayan. Kami po'y napaginitan noong nakarang administrasyon.
Former Senator Bong Revilla, who like Estrada faced plunder charges but has been acquitted, was also widely received by the crowd.
Akala ko, hindi nyo na ako titilian. Yung lahat po ng sakit na ramdaman po namin ay nawala pong lahat dahil po sa napakainit na pagtanggap nyo ngayon sa akin.
Na-acquitted naman po si Senator Bong and si Senator Jinggoy is under bail. So there is no finality sa case niya. Once lang po na sinabi ng korte na guilty ang isang tao, dyan lang po tayo dapat mag-judge sa isang tao.
HNP is endorsing 13 senatorial candidates, even if only 12 Senate seats are up for grabs. The slate is composed of past and re-electionist senators and government officials staging a comeback. While HNP is a Davao-based regional party, its alliance with Pampanga Governor Lilia Pineda's Cambilan Party and the support of House Speaker Gloria Macapagal Arroyo brought them to that part of Luzon on Tuesday.
Dito po sa Luzon, nanalo si President Duterte sa probinsya ng Pampanga at yung strategic location ng province of Pampanga.
Bigyan natin uli ng pinakamalaking landslide ang mga kandidato ni President Rodrigo Duterte, mga kandidato ni Mayor Sara Duterte.
After Pampanga, HNP will barnstorm Bataan, Pangasinan, and Baguio City this week. Joyce Ilas, CNN Philippines.
The opposition coalition hits the campaign trail beginning in Metro Manila. Our AC Nichols reports what happened on the first day of the campaign period for the opposition slate.
Braving the scorching afternoon sun, opposition candidates walked the streets of Caloocan City. After a short parade, they went their separate ways to cover more ground. Instead of the usual grand rally, the Liberal Party-led coalition is opting to visit homes and personally talk to voters.
Ngayon po, ang panahon upang bumalik sa taong bayan, ipresenta ang aming mga plano at sana po magtulungan upang makaluklok po tayo ng isang independent na Senado, isang Senado na ang taong bayan ang nasa puso, ang nasa buod.
Also working on the ground are volunteers and supporters. Their goal, increase awareness of the candidates by providing ordinary folks with basic information about them. They've been doing this for the past few months, and information gathered through this listening campaign, as they call it, was used to determine the slate's legislative agenda. Their key issues include corruption, justice, education, national security, and jobs. Besides door-to-door campaigning, the candidates also plan to use social media to get their message across. They admit holding huge rallies all over the country may not be doable because they lack funds. To organize rallies, they also need support from local government officials. This is proving difficult since many former Liberal Party members on the ground are now allied with the ruling party.
Talagang I will rely on social media. I don't have the 100 million na kinaklaim ng mga ibang kandidato that they have on the other side. I will not use 100 million, of course not, dahil magkakautang ka ng loob sa mga ilang mga entities that you wouldn't want to sell your soul to.
Despite the odds, the candidates are confident they can increase their ranking in the next 3 months. AC Nichols, CNN Philippines.
Lawmakers ratify a bill seeking to end sexual harassment through the Safe Spaces Act. When passed into law, this will penalize catcalling, wolf whistling, unwanted invitations, stalking, and even gender-based slurs. Also, the Health Department is exerting all efforts to boost the government's immunization program following a decline on parents' trust on vaccines. Now, a senator wants the Public Attorney's Office Chief, Persida Acosta, to resign. Let's go straight to the source of the story. Senate Committee on Women and Children Chairperson Risa Hontiveros. Senator, good to have you again. Good morning to you.
Thank you for inviting me. Morning.
So it's the measles outbreak. That started
Yes.
last week. It made headlines for about, I would say, 7 days now. Hence, after that, you called for POW Chief Persida Acosta to resign. Because basically what you're calling is, scaremongering on the Dengvaxia controversy. You have Malacanang now. Just moving forward. And some senators saying she's just really doing her job. Are you still asking for her resignation?
I'm definitely still asking her to resign, Pinky. She painted vaccines as biohazards. Can you believe that? All of us parents know it's common knowledge. Pag may bago kang panganak na baby, pabakunahan mo. And we had practically eliminated measles by the time she went on her rampage posing as a doctor. She's a lawyer, not a doctor. DOH had gotten our vaccines confidence and coverage rates up to the 90% levels, 2015, 2016, 2017. Hindi lang niya kinalahati yon, Pinky. She cut that down to 1/3 because of the politicking, the gimmicks, the hysteria that she generated, which really did a big disservice to the whole Dengvaxia controversy and
What if they say,
investigation.
Senator, it's not the POW chief, it's the Dengvaxia? Why blame her?
Because the investigations should have allowed the UPPGH into the circle of experts. Pwede nila sanang sabihin what they had found out about the adequacy or inadequacy of the clinical trials thus far, but focusing on the investigation on Dengvaxia, not machine gunning the whole expanded program on immunization efforts of the DOH. Imagine for her to say that vaccines in general are biohazards. Sino ba naman ang maaring hindi matakot doon? And now, measles are out of NCR, they're into Luzon and even the Visayas, 4 regions of our country, 70 children so far dead, and the DOH finding out that 4 out of 5 of those kids na namatay sa Tigdas ay hindi nabakunahan. So who's going to be accountable for that?
Mayor Sara Duterte now turning the tables on you, saying you should be the one to resign. In her FB post, she says that ikaw dapat ang mag-resign dahil wala ka nang sinabi na tama, puro sablay. I'd just like you to react to that, to respond to that, Senator.
Sablay ba na sabihin na dapat yung isang POW chief who poses as a doctor and discredits the decades-long work of not just DOH, pero yung ating mga health service providers at mga conscientious parents ay dapat hindi managot sa ginawa niya? Sablay ba para sabihin na dapat hindi natin ibaba yung minimum age of criminal responsibility when for the second time in a decade, Filipinos 75-80% have said, ayaw naming ibaba ang MACR. It should stay at 15 kasi malinaw under the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act na kapag ginawa natin ang maayos ang trabaho ng Bahay Pag-asa, it really reduces the incidence of children in conflict with the law. When you say things to the opposite of those facts, yun ang sablay. You don't have your feet on the ground.
So she goes on to say also that she says that the POW chief is just doing her job to assist indigent litigants who want to sue. Tumutulong lang naman daw ho siya sa mga mahihirap na.
Well, kung tingin ni POW Acosta at tingin ni Mayor na ginagawa lang niya yung trabaho niya, then she should stick to the ambit of the law. Ang hirap, sinaklaw pa niya yung shop ng Department of Health. Nagpostura siyang, nagkunwari siyang doktor and discredited the generations of work of pediatricians here in our country.
How about the fact, though, Senator, that when you say that POW chief is disguising herself as a doctor when in fact she's a lawyer, may kasama naman siyang doktor. Si Dr. Erfe.
Well, I will leave it to the good doctors, peers, to pronounce on kung ginawa ba niya ng tama yung kanyang trabaho o hindi. Hindi pa naman ako nananawagan na magbitiw sa tungkulin ng isang doktor. I'm just focusing my call on the Public Attorney's Office head na inangkin ang trabaho ng doktor at ng buong Department of Health.
And lastly, just on the post of the Mayor Deng Vaksha killed innocent individuals, bakit wala kang human rights angle dito?
Oh, wow. Sa trabaho ko bilang Senate Committee on Health Vice Chair, I participated very actively in the hearings. Even the year before, dininig yan ng Blue Ribbon Committee. Even before pinansin niya ni Mayor at saka ni PAO Chief. And I was already raising issues about the procedures in the Department of Health. Ang problema, inunahan nila, tapos niratatat nila, hindi lang yung issue ng Deng Vaksha, pero lahat ng vaccines. And what do we have to show for it now? DOH itself said, wala pa silang pruweba na may ni isang bata na dahil nabakunahan sa Deng Vaksha, directly nililink yun doon sa namatay ang batang yon. But on the other hand, we have 70 kids dying from measles, an easily preventable disease na halos na-wipe out na natin ang incidence dahil sa immunization program ng gobyerno.
You know, Secretary Francisco Duque, I said this yesterday, he was in the show. When I spoke to him, maybe I would say 6-8 months ago, he was already raising this problem.
Yes.
That nawawala ng kumpiyansa ang mga nanay dahil sa vaccination program. Wala naman siya, he was just, it was a cry out for help. Parang ganun, ano? And then yesterday, he was here and he said, kahit papano naman daw, he wants to look forward and he's happy because sa mga health centers, dumadami na daw yung mga nanay na nagdadala ng kanilang mga anak para mabakunahan. Do you see something good, a silver lining here, something good that happened after the fact?
The silver lining was surviving PAO Acosta's attack on vaccinations in general. And all the credit goes to DOH and to our health service providers na sa habang panahon have been teaching the science, the common sense science, na kapag may baby, pabakunahan mo sa mga established na mga bakuna, anti-measles man yan, anti-polio, anti-tetanus, and don't be afraid to trust your health service provider. Magduda ka sa ibang profesional tulad ng isang abogada na nagkukunwaring doktor at babalik ta rin pa yung matagal na trabahong ginawa ng ating mga health service providers.
We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Still to come, we're going to talk about the Safe Space Act. We need to find out more about that. And of course, the campaign period for senatorial aspirants kicks off. But is the opposition slate facing an uphill battle? We'll be back after the break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today is Senator Risa Hontiveros. Just a couple of more questions, Senator. How do you feel that Malacanang is defending the PAO chief? In fact, even Senator J.V. Ejercito, I had him yesterday, and I said, are you joining calls for PAO chief Persida Acosta to resign? Sabi niya, hindi naman.
Well, I'm sad kung hindi kami magkasama nung aking Senate Committee on Health chairman. Pero in general, I would say 90% of the time, I'm really happy to be working with him, not just on health, but say on labor issues in support of Chair Joel. Pero para sabihin ng Malacanang yan, well, what else is new, Pinky? No,
hindi mo kinakagulat?
Hindi ko kinakagulat, hindi nakagugulat. I mean, pag siningil ko si Presidente and hold him to a higher standard, sinisingil ko yung accountability nila as our highest elected public official. But if they insult or attack me for exacting accountability from him, that's because they're insisting on their impunity. That's what it's about. And they're trying to cover the PAO chief with the same blanket of impunity.
Okay, I need to move topics. Safe Space Act, very important. You've been fighting for this. I mean, ang tagal na natin pinag-usapan to. You had a number of interviews even with magazines regarding this. Tell us more about it. Although it's just been ratified by the Senate,
and
no?
the House.
And the House by CAM. Wala pang signature ng Pangulo.
Wala pang signature, yun na lang ang kulang para maging batas.
Yes.
So it's added to the growing list of malapit ng maging batas, pirma na lang ang kulang. But we are really excited about this. Women and LGBTs and you know, gender-sensitive men. Kasi this will really enhance the current anti-sexual harassment law to go beyond yung mga school and office settings into the streets and public spaces. Lampas dun sa sexual harassment can only be done by a superior to a subordinate.
Employer to employee.
Employer to employee. To go to even by a subordinate to a superior, and between peers and between strangers.
Hindi ang sexual harassment hindi na boss
Hindi lamang,
sa
saka
staff
employee,
niya. Oo.
hindi lang.
Ngayon pwede na siya vice versa.
Pwedeng vice versa, just to show na yung kasing primary imbalance in power between men and women, yun yung major dynamic that's at play
Yes.
here. Kahit dyan sa kalsada, kahit may daanan kang tao sa kanto.
So yun ang tanong, ano ang mga bawal? Bawal ang ano?
Catcalling, wolf whistling.
Ano ba ang catcalling sa Tagalog?
Yung mga, paano ba yun? Yung mga, hey sexy, smile naman dyan. O, miss, pahingi naman ang phone number mo. Yung
Bawal na yan.
Bawal yung pagpaulit-ulit at sinabi na ng babae, ayoko. Or dinedma ka. Pero
Hindi ka na pinansin.
Hindi ka pinansin.
Nagpatuloy ka pa.
Nagpatuloy ka pa rin, no? Intransigent ka. O kaya leering, cursing, gender slurs. So kasama
Mga
po yun.
homophobic slurs.
Homophobic, transphobic slurs, all the way to stalking. And then indecent exposure to the
So ang pinaka-light, Senator, is, kasi there are light,
Catcalling
medium,
and wolf whistling.
Yung dalawa. Yung
Oo.
pagsipol, bawal na yon.
Oo, bawal na yon. If the person takes offense, the woman or the LGBT or man takes offense, tapos yung isang magandang innovation dito sa Safe Streets and Public Spaces Act, pwede kang magsumbong, humingi ng tulong sa isang PNP officer on the street or a PNP designated public person like MMDA official, kung dito sa NCR, pwedeng sitahin nung public safety officer na yon yung tao na, sir or ma'am, nagreklamo itong tao sa inyo and can issue a ticket. Parang sa traffic violation.
Pwede yun.
Pwede yun. Parang sa violation ng, ano ba ito? Yung Solid Waste Management Act. Para yung complainant, may sense ka agad and may physical sign na, okay, government has taken cognizance of my complaint. At yung nireklamuhan, meron din siyang call of attention na, may nagreklamo sa iyo. Now, a fact-finding process will ensue. A due process will ensue.
So, just to be clear about it, the lightest violation would be yung pagsipol, and the pinaka-heavy.
Pinaka-heavy yung mga stalking, ganyan. Somewhere in between, kasi may light, medium,
Oo nga,
grave offenses. Somewhere in medium yung mga indecent exposure,
Yeah, the severe
groping.
violations,
There.
stalking, all the acts mentioned in, paragraphs A and B, when accompanied,
Yes.
yung meron ng may
Parang
physical
aggravating circumstance, physical. And speaking of aggravating circumstance, kung yung offender ay person in authority, say in uniform, or a cleric, or a person in authority over the complainant,
How about a
aggravating
politician?
circumstance. Kasama kami doon.
Okay.
Oo, kasama kami doon.
So, pero yung IRR, ibabalang ka, they're still going to do this,
After
no?
mapirmahan ng
Ng
presidente,
Pangulo.
then there will be an at least 30-day period na isusulat yung implementing rules and regulations.
And that will be up to who?
The period of
those
the period
who
of IRR?
IRR.
Sa executive na yon. So, pag IRR drafting na, labas na kaming mga legislators doon, it will be the executive and then stakeholders sa civil society and private sector.
Okay. So, the good thing about this is that, finally, meron ng, I guess it's making it a little bit more gender equal.
Yes.
As a gender equal society, I guess.
This law wants to really enhance our culture na maging mas gender sensitive tayo, maging mas gender equal yung lifestyle natin sa isa't isa, to promote the idea that gender sensitive language is positive for the whole of society. Gagawin niyang mas conducive to yung maluwag ang kalooban ng bawat isa, that I can go out in my city or in my province and this is a safe space for me.
But Senator, isn't this being done in Baguio City? Di ba meron na yan? And I think Quezon City?
May mga syudad like Quezon City, like Dagupan in Pangasinan, City of Manila recently with Konsehala Bacani. They've gone ahead of the process of passing a national law. Nag-ano na sila, local ordinance on safe streets. Ang galing, nag-una na sila.
And it's good that in fact nag-uumpisa din somehow sa mga local kasi nasasanay din yung mga tao at nagkukwento din nila sa mga kakilala nila na ay bawal sa amin yan.
Oo. So the local cultures prepare the national culture. At saka karanasan 2 out of 10 women in Manila, I always get my numbers mixed up, but the surveys in Manila, in Quezon City show how widespread sexual harassment is on the streets and how underreported it is. So kailangan talaga ng batas.
Okay, again, we'll be taking a short break. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Senator Risa Hontiveros. Just very quickly, the chances of the Ocho Derecho, what are your thoughts?
Strong.
Really?
Malakas ang appetite namin for this campaign. Tingin namin, we have the analysis on the problems. We have the, mga, as we say also in Akabayan, konkretong solusyon sa mga problemang ito. Kumpara mo yung analysis ng gobyerno or yung excuses nila, yung mga pagdadahilan, blaming others, at yung aming mga analysis, solid yung amin. Kumpara mo yung mga solusyon na pinipresent namin kumpara sa programang pinatatakbo.
Pero sino mas kilala? Would you submit that mas kilala yung administration
if you go by
candidates?
the surveys, dalawa pa lang sa amin ang kilala, pero ilalaban namin yung iba pa. So ipakikilala namin when we started that strong yesterday.
Yeah, you know, the campaign is very different. It's grassroots level, it's house to house. Yan yung pagbabalik sa dating nakagisna ng pangangampanya.
And sanay kami dyan bilang mga community organizers. This is where we are, sa basic sector, sa mga komunidad. At dito rin nararamdaman ng tao yung hirap ng buhay ngayon.
Okay, gusto ko lang because we talked about this during the break, babalik ko lang, Senator, I hope you don't mind. Yun kasing baka sabihin ng mga ibang tao na, kaya ka nababastos. Kasi sa Tagalog, ang ibig sabihin talaga ng batas, parang anti-bastos law. Yun ang tawag ni Congressman.
Bawal bastos talaga.
Paano pag yung nakasuot na, naka-sleeveless, naka-miniskirt, ganon, at sila'y nasipulan?
Ng sexist culture and misogynistic culture, na parang kung paano tayo manamit, kung saan tayo maglakad, kung anong oras tayo lumabas sa syudad natin, kasalanan natin. We were asking for it. Excuse me, the way women dress or the way an LGBT person dresses, for that matter, the way a man dresses, is not an invitation para bastusin o para dahasin. It's one's personal expression. It's the way we dress for whatever is the day's schedule. Kahit nga yung rape, hindi yan kasalanan ng pananamit ng babae. Ang kasalanan ng rape ay sa rapist.
Maraming salamat. Thank you, Senator Risa Hontiveros. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.